Hello students, Ms. Swanson here, and today we're going to look at multiplying and dividing in scientific notation. Now you've seen this picture already when we first talked about scientific notation. So we have one learning goal today, to multiply and divide in scientific notation. So just a review on scientific notation, it takes the form as a times 10 to the power of b, where a is a coefficient anywhere between 1 and 9. And often it's a decimal number. B is an exponent, which is positive for large numbers and negative for small numbers. And the base is always 10. So it's always a times 10 to the power of b. And just a reminder about our exponents, when we have an exponent, for example, 10 to the power of 3, that means 10 times itself 3 times, not 10 times 3, it means 10 times itself 3 times. So 10 times 10 times 10. If we have a negative exponent like 10 to the power of negative 5, that means 0.1 times itself 5 times. So let's look at how to multiply in scientific notation first of all. For this, we have a special rule, so we'll see what the formula is, and that'll help us multiply in scientific notation. So we'll start off with an example. We have 5.1 times 10 to the 4 times 2.5 times 10 to the 3. So we're going to use this formula here to help us figure out the answer. So we start off with n times 10 to the a, so that's just a general formula for something in scientific notation. And then m times 10 to the b, again a general formula for something in scientific notation. We use n and then m for the coefficients and a and b for the exponents. To find what the answer would be, we multiply n times n, so we multiply the coefficients times each other. And then it's times 10 to the a plus b, so we add our exponents together. So in this case, we would end up with 5.1 times 2.5, so those are our coefficients being multiplied by each other, times 10 to the power of a plus b, so this would be 4 plus 3. So those are exponents being added together. And in this case, we'll end up with 12.75 times 10 to the 7. Now our next rule is an optional rule. It depends on your answer. If the answer is in proper scientific notation, you're done after the first step. If not, you need to move the decimal so that there's one non-zero digit in front of the decimal. Again, remember that if you move the decimal to the left, you need to increase the exponent, and if you move the decimal to the right, you need to decrease the exponent. We have 12.75. We need to move the decimal to the left so that only the 1 is in front of the decimal. If we move the decimal to the left, we increase our exponent. We're moving it 1 time, so we increase the exponent by 1. So we would end up with 1.275 times 10 to the power of 8. So let's try an example this time with division. So we have 1.7 times 10 to the 7 divided by 3.1 times 10 to the 3. Now I'm going to show you a different way of looking at this. If you remember, having a division sign is the same thing as creating a fraction. So I've got the first number and then in the numerator, and then we have the second number in the denominator. So when we look at our formula, this is the form it will be in the fraction form. So our first step is to use this formula, our first number as the numerator and then the second number as the denominator, and that's going to be equal to n over m, so we're dividing our coefficients, times 10 to the a minus b, so we're going to subtract the exponents. So this is how that would look. We would have 1.7 times 10 to the 7 over 3.1 times 10 to the 3, and that's going to be equal to 1.7 over 3.1 times 10 to the 7 minus 3. And if we do that math, we end up with 0.55 times 10 to the power of 4. Oops, we can't read that here. I'm going to write this over here, 0.55 times 10 to the 4. Oops, I'm not able to erase this step. Well, our last step is going to be moving the decimal so that there's one non-zero digit in front of the decimal. So again, this is an optional step depending on the number you end up with. We have 0.55 times 10 to the 4. There's a 0 in front of the decimal. We need to move the decimal to the right one time so that the 5 is in front of the decimal. We're moving the decimal to the right, which means we decrease the exponent, and we're moving it one time, so we're going to decrease the exponent by 1. So we'll end up with 5.5 times 10 to the power of 3. So let's take another look at our learning goals. You should be able to multiply and divide in scientific notation. If you can do this, fantastic. If not, please rewatch the video. And if you're still having trouble, come ask me in class tomorrow. All right, that's all for now. Bye-bye.